Welcome. I'm Dr. Liz, an entrepreneur, speaker, podcaster, mom, and wife. This podcast is about hypnosis, but also about all kinds of ways to help you live your fullest life, to heal, transform, to play the long game and go after the joy. You can see more about me at drlizhypnosis.com. Hop over there to get a free hypnosis file to decrease fear and anxiety or one to increase emotional stability. They're there just for you. I hope you enjoy the podcast as much as I do. Peace. Hi everyone, Dr. Liz here. Today's episode is all about manifesting, and it is with Victoria Gallagher, who started out as a stockbroker, but who burned out and then turned to transformational workshops to gain her life back. Then she began using visualization scripts and eventually became a hypnotist to help people, specifically focusing on success in manifesting. She's been in this business a really long time, and her books are pretty well known within the hypnotist community. I say hypnotist because she's not a licensed practitioner. She doesn't hold a master's or an advanced degree in any type of counseling, but she has been well trained in hypnosis. So we discussed the top 3 things that hold people back from manifesting. These are really interesting. What people are missing that prevent them from being in alignment from what they want. And a really interesting part of the interview is how to break the limiting beliefs that perhaps are holding you back from manifesting what you truly want. So I thought January was a really good time to air this as people are setting goals for the year. Perhaps you're already burned out in your goals. I don't know. This will air about 2 or 3 weeks into January 2022. And if that's the case, either this one could help you or the previous episode, HM229, where I talk about if you're getting stuck on the practical side of implementing your goals, how to use a technique to get past that so that you do get them done. That one's a good one too. I hope everyone is healthy and safe, and I wish for you a bit of peace for the week ahead, whenever you're listening to this. Hi, Victoria. Welcome to the Hypnotize Me podcast.
Hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
Good.
Good to be here.
Yes. So I'm just going to start with a question that I often ask anyone who is a hypnotist or a hypnotherapist. What was your first experience with hypnosis?
Oh boy, that's a great question. So really my very first experience was even like before I became a hypnotist. The one that I really harken back to was when I was deathly afraid of needles. So, and I was deathly afraid of going to the dentist, and I had a dentist appointment. And so I went to a hypnotist, and that was like, gosh, 25, almost 30 years ago, I think.
Wow.
And and you know, that I would say that was the first time being hypnotized by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I had lots of other experiences where, you know, like I practiced meditation and self-hypnosis and things of that nature, but actually going and having somebody else do it for me. And it was just a much, much more, you know, much deeper experience than I had ever had before.
Mm-hmm.
Was doing the dental right before my dental appointment.
Did it get rid of the needle phobia?
You know, that particular session didn't do it for me. It was a few years later when I went to a therapist who also happened to be a hypnotherapist, and she had me write my own affirmations. And I think the thing was the reason why it didn't work as well the first time is, and I think this is really important for the audience to understand,
Mm-hmm.
is because I like to test things out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally went into this number one, a little skeptical. Number two, like this was less than 12 hours before my dental appointment. So there was no
Mm.
reinforcement or anything. And
Mhm.
I go in there and maybe when I say less than 12 hours, maybe less than 24 hours.
Okay.
I go in there just expecting a miracle. And I didn't really have as much information about it, obviously, as I do today. And I felt pretty confident about the appointment the next day, but I wanted to test it out. And I kept trying to bring the fear back. And
Mm.
of course, I was able to bring the fear back.
Yeah.
Whatever you're looking for proof of, you're going to find that. And so you, as the client, as the participant, as the person who's getting hypnotized, you do kind of have to really believe in the process. You've got to allow it to work. You got to work along with it. It's not like all of a sudden you're not ever going to be able to access that fear if you want to. You
Mhm.
you you can absolutely access that fear. And so I fretted about it all day, and I decided, yeah, I'm going to bring this fear back. And it was the appointment didn't work
Mhm.
so well.
Got it.
So, moving forward, I had to have some other procedures done. And so I sought out, an actual therapist who happened to be a hypnotherapist. She had me create my own affirmations,
Mhm.
for getting rid of the fear of needles. There was like a week, and I really thought about it, and I really thought about why I wanted to overcome this and what it was about for me. And that was such an empowering experience. And then I came back to her a week later and gave her the affirmations. And, this was like a blood work thing that I could do anytime. So I
Mhm.
was able to like really allow the suggestions to sink in for, a good week or so before getting the blood work. And I haven't had the same fear. I don't like to go get blood work done,
Mhm.
but I can do it without it being like a huge deal now, like
Yeah, got
where
it.
I
I
was
don't know a whole
before.
lot of people who like to go get blood work done. I mean, they like to see the results sometimes, but the actual process, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's tolerable to you is what you're saying now.
It's tolerable. It's fine. I
Good.
could just, hand over my arm and just look away and, take a deep breath, and it's fine.
Yeah, good, good. And I say for a long time, and actually sometimes this is in some of the intros of the hypnosis files I do for people, is that it's a process of two minds. So it's their mind and my mind. It's a partnership working together to help them. And it's also their conscious mind and their subconscious mind. So that's what you're saying is like, all right, it had to be something that you wanted to do, that you're very motivated to do, not just someone trying to impose, quote unquote, these suggestions on you that these fears would like
Exactly.
magically, disappear. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I learned so much about hypnotherapy, even though I wasn't a hypnotist at the time.
Hmm.
I can draw back to that experience and, know why hypnosis doesn't work for some people because they're challenging it. If you challenge it, you're probably going to get what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah. So then how did you eventually become a hypnotherapist?
So totally unrelated to what I ever went to hypnotherapy for. Fast forward to when I was kind of getting a little burnt out as a stockbroker. I was a stockbroker for about 6 or 7 years. And, it seemed at the time when I got that job, it seemed like a dream job. It seemed like something that, wow, like this is amazing. But
Mhm.
after after a while, just started getting really burnt out, and I started getting burnt out on everything in my whole life. And
Mhm.
I thought I had it all together. I was married, had a, house, nice car, in
Mhm.
great shape. Like I really had it all together, but I was just depressed and anxious and worried and unmotivated. And I went to a um, a personal development seminar called Size Seminars, and it was during this 4 day, like, 36-hour intensive retreat
Mhm.
where, we just did a lot of visualization and meditation. And it was during this time where I was just like, I really want to teach this to other people. I really want other people to experience this awakening, this sense of awareness and everything that I had just experienced. And, I started trying to get people to come to the seminar,
Mhm.
and a lot of, people weren't really into it the way that I was. So I said, people don't want to come to the seminar. I'm going to bring the seminar to them.
Mm.
And that's when I decided that I wanted to create audio recordings
Mhm.
that would, help people to overcome whatever problems that they wanted to overcome, help them with self confidence, help them with motivation, help them with visualizing, help them with success, all of the things. And even though I had my experiences with hypnosis before, I didn't know even then that that meant that I wanted to hypnotize people. So I started writing these, what I called, visualization scripts.
Mhm.
And I wanted to just kind of get some validation that I was writing effective material that was actually going to help people and not hurt them.
Okay.
And so I started just kind of doing a little search online for, like, how do you write an effective visualization script? And after a while, like literally, this was like a process of like a couple of years of like really trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do? Like, what is this called? And finally, I just stumbled upon in my search a hypnotherapy school, and literally, like, on the spot, just decided, wow, this is it. This is exactly what I want to become. And not only do I want to write these scripts and recordings, but I just decided, you know what? I just want to become a hypnotherapist and see clients in my office. And I'm already seeing people to
Mhm.
help them with their finances.
Yeah.
I can see people to help them with every aspect of their life. And so that was back in let's see, 99. I started my hypnotherapy practice and started my website and never looked back. And it was just an amazing process.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. Well, some of your focus on manifesting, law of attraction for success, financial freedom, some of that makes more sense to me now, considering your background.
Yes. Well, we did so much in that seminar, and I continued with seminars like that. So a lot of my training, a lot of my background is really intertwined with all this other personal growth work that I've been doing, and a lot of other books and
Mhm.
things that I had been reading and movies. And so all of that really, it kind of gave me a little bit of a unique background as far as the hypnotherapy. The hypnotherapy was more just to give myself a credential, like a
Mhm.
real credential. But I really felt like where I got the vast majority of my training was going through all of these different, 90 days seminars, personal growth, seminars, working with coaches and
Mhm.
coaching other people in these seminars. And that's where I really like got my real training. I mean, not that the hypnotherapy wasn't the real training, but that was for me at that point, that was more of an add-on.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, doing the work is where we really learn, I think, better how to actually do what we're doing, like actually working
so
with people. It
much.
can't just be like sitting in a class or, I mean, these days taking it online. And you have to really work with people to better your skills
You
and better yourself.
You really do. You really do. A lot of the coaching and things, we would do these 90-day coaching programs. Once you've been through the program yourself and you've been coached for 90 days, like
Mhm.
literally every single day you call a coach and you have like a 10-minute conversation with them.
I
And
did a
then
similar
once you've
program. I think it's the same. It's called different things around the country, is what I've noticed. So in South Florida, it was
okay.
called Summit, but
Oh,
but it sounds the same. Like there's different
yeah.
levels, but the third level, it's like, yeah, I had a daily coaching call with my
Yep.
coach for, and it was it was months. I don't remember if it was 90 days, but it was certainly 60, Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. And yeah, that between, size seminars and landmark and, and a couple of like relationship retreats and things like that I had done, it was just like this whole mishmash of all these different things. I had been learning a little bit about the law of attraction just through books
Hmm.
by, Deepak Chopra and Shakti Gawain. Years later, The Secret came out and it was like, oh yeah, The Secret. That's
Uh-huh.
that's kind of like what I've been learning about, and I had been I had probably 100 or 200 hypnotherapy recordings at the time, and most of them were already incorporating a lot of that language, like talking about manifesting,
Hmm.
talking about the energy, talking about like attracts like, and all these things. And it's like, oh, there, this is what I've been putting into my hypnotherapy recordings, and it just sort of allowed me to really talk about it more in public. I just kind of thought people would think what I was doing was strange, even though I was using the
Yeah.
words inside my hypnotherapy sessions, and people
Hmm.
were getting amazing results from it. They're like, wow, what makes these work so well? It's like, well, it's this understanding about, the law of attraction and the
Hmm.
energy and magnetizing and, to think is to create and all of that.
Yeah, wonderful. So that's a lot of recordings. I know your site. I didn't realize it had quite that many. I mean, I'm sure it has more now because you're talking about when The Secret came out. That's quite a while ago. So,
Yeah. After that, I created the Personal Growth Club, and I think in one single year, I added 200 hypnotherapy recordings to my
whoa,
library. Yeah.
whoa.
When like I can do, and when I turn on the focus and the, productivity
Hmm.
button inside of me, and there literally is a button inside of me. It's either on or it's off. It hasn't been on as much lately.
Uh-huh.
I've been just focusing on other things,
Hmm.
uh, getting my office to look just right and
Uh-huh.
little things like that. And focusing, actually, it's been focusing on my app, my HypnoCloud app. That's really taken most of my focus, getting all
Hmm.
those hypnotherapy recordings inside the app and all of
Yeah.
that. But yeah, at one year, 200. So I'm up to about 600 now as we
Wow.
speak.
Wow. Incredible. So let me ask, what do you think are the top three things that actually hold people back from manifesting? Like they're coming to your app or your website to do your courses for a certain reason. Do you see some commonalities that show up?
Absolutely. So the top three things, I would say the number one of the three things would be lack of very clearly defined um, goals, or, just desires. So many people, like, they know what they don't want, but they don't really know what they do want. And they either that or they're just all over the place. Like they want a little bit of that and a little bit of that. And you really have to have like a pretty clearly defined vision for what it is that you want. And you have to focus on it for long enough to bring it to fruition. So that's number one, lack of clarity.
Hmm.
Number two, I would say, is believing. just having limiting beliefs or just not really having strong enough belief
Mm-hmm.
in what they want. That, or like they'll put something out there and try to manifest something that is just completely absurd in
Mm-hmm.
their conscious mind and their subconscious mind. Like maybe they've never earned even as much as $50,000 in a year, and they'll say that they want to become, a multimillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that can happen, but you got to start with something that's more believable to you at this juncture.
For
So that's
sure.
number two,
Yeah.
would be
Okay.
the belief. So clarity, lack of belief. And I would just say also just people give up too soon.
Mm.
Um, they think that it's something that should happen overnight or in a week or in 30 days. And manifesting happens when you're all completely in and you're completely committed and you've made a definite decision. And most of the time people are missing one of those elements. They're not focused on the one thing. They don't have the belief. They don't have the feeling. They're not visualizing the right thing. They have too many negative beliefs. And so they're just not in alignment with what they want. And then they just eventually give up and they just, this doesn't work because it's been 30 days or
Mm-hmm.
60 days. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I guess manifesting just doesn't work.
Yeah. Gotcha. I think sometimes people do expect hypnosis to be like a magic wand versus
Mhm.
a process. And you're saying it's a process. So give it time, like give that time to work, that process. Yeah.
Exactly.
So considering these three like top mistakes that people make, um, like most of your stuff is pre-recorded, but do you also offer custom hypnosis to people so that you can help them get clear on these things?
I absolutely do. Well, number one, I do have my book, Practical Law of Attraction. That really helps people to really get clear on what
Mm.
they want. But yeah, I also do offer my custom hypnosis recordings, and the custom hypnosis recordings allows you to state what you want. I go through a series of questions
Mhm.
on my questionnaire that help people to formulate it. It really helps formulate the script, the questions that people answer.
Mhm.
And there's also an option to do a live coaching session with me when they order this,
Mhm.
and it really just helps to get clear on your very specific goals and your very specific desires, because everybody has a unique story and a unique situation. There's I mean,
They do.
and there's
Yeah.
things, all of my programs, I mean, they work, but of course you're going to get something a little bit more. We're going to put your little puppy dog, your little baby, your
Yeah. Yeah.
your very specific hike that you like to take, your
Yeah.
sunset.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because I find this too when I'm working with people on different things, and particularly number two, when we're even working not necessarily on manifesting, but on working on reducing anxiety, like things like this. And I talk about finding a thought to help reduce anxiety that it has to be believable. So people will say things like, oh, I just have to tell myself that's ridiculous. And it's like, that's not believable. Like your anxiety, first of all, is not ridiculous, right? But it's like,
Right.
too, you've got to find something it's almost like a bridge or like throwing a hook, a grapple. If someone's rock climbing, they can't just throw it all the way to the top and zoom up. They go step by step. And so let's throw the grapple up and find another little ridge there that feels believable to you and doable. And then once we're there, we'll find the next one up. So I think that's really, that resonates with me a lot.
Yeah, that's so key. I love that like you have to create these little steps, these little intermediate steps. It's just like running a marathon in a way. And,
Hmm.
and I mean, I don't know how many people out there run marathons, but a marathon is 26.2 miles. And if
Yeah.
you've never even run 5 miles, you're not going to be able to go out and run a 26.2 mile marathon tomorrow. It takes training.
Right.
And it's really interesting too, because when you're able to run 5 miles, but you've never run 6 miles, you can maybe believe that you can run 6 miles because that's happening next week.
Hmm.
But it's hard to believe at the 5 mile mark that you can run 10 miles. It's like, I don't even know. I don't even understand how I'm going to run that. And that's exactly how it works when it comes to manifesting anything, is like right now, if you're earning $100,000 a year, it's hard to imagine how you're going to double that.
Yeah.
How are you going to double that? And, but you're going to do that based on training your mind to believe higher and higher levels. You're going to do that by, being able to add more products to your arsenal of things that you offer.
Hmm.
And so it's just this little step by step process of getting yourself to take on and believe more and more things, one step at a time.
Yes. Do you find that there's a momentum to that as well? I used to play this game with my kids when they were little about manifesting. And so I would say before we got in the car and drove to school in the morning, what do you want to see along the way? And they would name something, a white cat. And I was like, okay. So then let's see if we can put our minds together and we're going to picture the white cat and then keep your eye out for it. And inevitably they would see a white cat, so it's like I saw it as like building their muscles in terms of belief. So then, once that happens once or twice or three times, and I have story after story in my own life about things that I manifested, made a vision board on, put away in my book, didn't look at it for 5 years, and ended up in my dream neighborhood. That was like 10 years later.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, where it's like, and actually that's a really interesting story. I came in through the back way of that. This is a house I was looking at to rent, and I didn't realize it was in my dream neighborhood until then I went out the front way, and I was like, oh my God, like, oh my God, I have dreamed of living here since like I first saw this neighborhood in grad school, and this was like 10 years later, maybe 15 even. I have multiple stories like that. Do you find that like once you start to gain evidence, then you can dream bigger even?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I tell people when I'm coaching them to, help them with their manifesting is, really to start with small, very achievable things that are like a stretch, like maybe manifesting $100 that
Hmm.
they wouldn't ordinarily be able to manifest. So something that shows them that, oh, I can manifest, but it's not like this thing that they can't even imagine being able to do. It's much more believable to think like, I'm going to find $20 today
Hmm.
than I'm going to find $1,000 today.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're my husband who regularly finds $1,000. I'm like, how do you do that? It's like, well, right? I'm lucky. I'm like,
Right.
okay.
But for somebody who's just starting out with that, being able to, manifest the extra 20 or
Yes.
100 or whatever it is. And then, you build confidence because you say, well, if I could manifest that, let's see what, let's challenge myself a little bit more. So you're absolutely right. It 100% builds your confidence and it builds momentum, and it just helps you to believe what else is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about, I want to talk a little bit about limiting beliefs and how
Yeah.
you address them with people. Like, how do you, like, let's say they don't even spot it. Do you help them spot it? Do
Mm-hmm.
you work with them in terms of like, where's that coming from? Like, my practice does a lot of deeper healing. And so often
Mm-hmm.
we will do a core healing, which looks at where does this belief come from? And now let's heal it so that you can go ahead and live your life in abundance, or go ahead and find the partner that you really want, because you no longer believe that you don't deserve that, or that you don't, that there's some message you got when you were younger that that's not going to be your path. That's not for you. So I'm interested in how you work with limiting beliefs yourself.
So, yeah, no, it's a really great question. So, I have a whole process, and it really starts out with, by the time a person has come to me, they've probably been trying to manifest this thing, whether it's their soulmate or career success or something with their health or whatever it is. They've been working on that for a while. Like they
Mm-hmm.
didn't just start thinking about that day that they called me. So by the time they get to me, they've already kind of recognized that, like, I'm having a block about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will just simply ask them, what would it be like to go ahead and just manifest this within the next day? And that just conjures up all their reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's really actually simple to find the limiting beliefs, is when
Mm-hmm.
you put somebody up to the challenge of going ahead and manifesting it. Like, let's go ahead and manifest it. So they'll give me their reasons. Well, um, that's not long enough, or I don't have enough time, or I don't have the money, or I don't know enough people, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough. All the things will start to come out
Mm-hmm.
of their conversation. We don't even necessarily have to go into the subconscious necessarily to find those. I mean, you are tapping into the subconscious, sort
Mm-hmm.
of bypassing it by just asking them that question. So I'll just ask them that question. And then if that is not going to give me the answer, then we'll just go into a little bit of a hypnotic state or meditation, and I'll ask them to put the idea into their mind of the thing that they want, and I'll just ask them to ask themselves, what's getting in my way from manifesting this, and just listen to their intuition, and the intuition will give them the answer. So once we have the answers, once we have a list of a few of their limiting beliefs, and we'll just go ahead and write
Mm-hmm.
those down, we will take one of those beliefs, and I like to do an interrogation process and with that belief. And I'll say, okay, now this belief, this isn't you. This is something that you've inherited from somewhere. And so we're gonna like dig into this belief, and we're gonna find out where it came from, and really question it. And we just question. And all this is done at the conscious
I
level
was about to ask you
of
that. I was like,
mind.
are they in trance or conscious level? So you're saying they're conscious
Yeah,
level. Okay.
this is all conscious level. And we can do some of this at the unconscious level, but we're able to do this work completely at the conscious level.
Mm-hmm.
Where we do the hypnosis is where we replant the new belief. So we do this interrogation process, we break it down, we get them to realize that this belief is completely invalid. We just invalidate the belief. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who did you find this out from? Oh, I found it out from my Aunt Betty. Is your Aunt Betty qualified to
Mhm.
advise you on such things as your finances? Like what kind of, is your Aunt Betty a millionaire? Is your Aunt Betty, won
Yeah.
the lottery or whatever it is?
Right, right.
And usually Aunt Betty is, not really in a position to give such advice. And then, we just ask various different other questions, like what's funny about this belief? And just really just break this belief down. Well, what would be a better belief? What would be a belief that would cause you to be able to have this dream home or have this dream lifestyle, or whatever the goal is that they're working on?
Mhm.
And they come up with a new empowering belief. Once they have the new empowering belief, then we will do the work in hypnosis to plant that new belief in. And we'll do a little bit of, I have my favorite little belief busting hypnosis session. Also, we go into this really special room where they write the old belief on a whiteboard, and then they cross it out, and then they
Mhm.
write the new belief on the whiteboard, and then we do a little future pacing and imagine themselves acting with this new belief.
Mhm.
And then just really get involving the imagination, and going beyond that moment, going past that future moment, looking back on the moment that belief became a reality, and their goal became a reality. So it's really fun, actually, breaking limiting beliefs. It's actually one of the things that I enjoy doing the most with people, and they just come out and they're like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. It sounds like a similar process, just a slightly different way because we all have our own styles of working with people. But yeah,
Yes.
I get the same kind of reactions when people really realize how much has been holding them back, and being able to see themselves in the future without it. Like that's really truly powerful for people.
It really is. It really is. And two, the other thing is just most people have never really thought about this belief. They've never put any focus on it or attention on it, or
Yeah.
even thought like, what do I need to believe? And who do I need to be? Because so much of this is the belief sponsors who you be and how you behave. And when I say who you be, like,
Yeah.
who are you? Like, who are you with this new belief? What kind of actions are you taking? How are you feeling? What kinds of things are you doing right now during your day? Because so many people are just inclined to wait before, until their dream becomes a reality, to act a certain way or to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And when really it's the other way around. So we got to pull from that new resource of the future, and say, okay, how can we start to behave in this new way now? How can we start to feel this new way now? Because it's the feeling that creates the action, which ultimately creates the result. If you don't feel like getting up,
Hmm.
you're probably not going to get up and act on your goals. If you
Absolutely.
don't,
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm working on creating another program, and some of the end goal was I'd like to feel proud when I launched this
mm,
program. And so one of the exercises was, okay, how can I feel proud every single day now? Right? Not like when I launch it sometime in the future. I need to practice that now. And so that's my daily task. And I have an accountability group that I check in with that. And I write it down like, this is what I did today to feel proud, and that type of thing. And it is so powerful to begin to practice that in your current, like, who are you now? And who do you want to be? What type of person do you want to be? And then how do you do that and work that into your daily life? That's really beautiful.
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that too, that you're working on that in your own life.
Oh, yeah. So we are coming to the end of our time here, and I have absolutely loved this interview. I think listeners, you got lots of good stuff that you can put into practice pretty immediately, but also let them know how they can find you and either buy your books or take one of your courses or contact you for custom hypnosis.
Absolutely. So the best way to find it all is to go to my website, victoriamgallagher.com. On there is kind of a portal to all of the things because I have a lot
Yes,
to
you do.
offer.
600 recordings, right? So
I've
absolutely.
got my 600 recordings. I've got my HypnoCloud app. I've got
Yes.
my courses at Personal Growth Club, my
Mhm.
books, of course, which are all on Amazon. So, but all things can be found just from going to victoriamgallagher.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us. I hope you truly enjoyed today's episode. Remember that you can get free hypnosis downloads over at my website, drlizhypnosis.com, DRLIZ hypnosis.com. I work all over the world doing hypnosis. So if you're interested in working with me, please schedule a free consultation over at my website, and we'll see what your goals are and if I can be of service to you in helping you reach them. Finally, if you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast or tell a friend. That way, more and more people learn about the power of hypnosis. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week. Peace. This podcast is not mental health treatment, nor should it replace mental health treatment. If you need therapy or hypnotherapy, please seek treatment from a trained professional.